Hello there and welcome back to the channel. Sorry, I was just finishing something up. Hello, hopefully you can hear me all right. I'm using the overhead mic tonight because I couldn't be bothered to reach over and get the boom out, and I thought it might be a bit easier to talk about without having that thing in the way. Anyway, hello, welcome back to the live stream. I'm just checking I've actually got the chat working on here, although it is insanely small. I need to figure out how to zoom in on the tablet to be able to see it. Anyway, what a week it has been. I hope you are all safe and well. I can see the chat coming up down there. I normally have the laptop where I can see it there, but I've got it here as well. That's a bit small for my eyes, so I think I'm going to have to put it up on my main monitor as well, because there is no way in hell I am going to be able to see that from here. So yeah, bear with me a moment. So, I hope you are all safe and well. Now, what a week it has been this week. We've had the launch of the DJI Integra goggles, or what was known as the Goggles Lite, for quite some time, and it's finally great to see that release. Not necessarily the product everyone wanted, but I have to say, I am overall very impressed with it. It's been a very busy day here for me today because I've been trying to finish up a bunch of stuff. And actually, the reason I was a little bit late coming on is I was offline for a couple of hours before going live. But yeah, it's been an interesting week and there is quite a lot to discuss. Now, I'm just finally getting the chat there so I can see it. Let me just pop it out and put it over here. My God, that is small down there. I've really got to get a proper chat monitor. Now, I obviously have a cup of tea with me, as always. Integra guy, how are you? Isaac's FPV. So let me just start at the top. Who have we got? We have Smags FPV. What about the new love toy? Yes. Now, I'll talk about that a little bit in a minute because I haven't actually opened that, and there's a reason, because I'm sending it all back. So I didn't want to touch that. I probably won't cover that unless I buy another one. But yes, I hope those of you who did enjoy the love toy part of the video, it took a bit of, I think it was 5 or 6 attempts. The problem is I kept saying something different every time. There was a very X-rated version, which I chose not to go with. But yeah, overall, yeah, it is interesting with these new goggles. And they've caused quite the stir because everyone is getting bent out of shape over this GPS module, and we'll talk about that a bit today as well. I also want to talk very briefly on the HDZero goggles, and really more than anything just do a bit of a PSA. I'm going to do that first, and I'm only doing that because I am someone who has recommended the goggles, and don't worry, there's nothing wrong. If you've ordered a set, no need to panic. Everything is fantastic, everything is fine. Mine are down there. Let me just grab them. No, they're not. Yes, they are. Couldn't see them then. Mine are there. There they are. Don't worry. But there is something I just want to mention. But we also have a couple of other things on HDZero as well. We have the new Foxeer VTX that has come too. I'm just going to put that there out of the way. And we'll do a bit of a Q&A on the Integras as well. Now, before we start, I just want to do a bit of a Q&A on the new... Sorry, that's completely wrong. Before we start, I just want to do a bit of a PSA on the new HDZero goggles. So there are many people who have ordered the new HDZero goggles and they are starting to ship now. When you get your new HDZero goggles, as of today, you do not need to update the firmware. They come with the very latest firmware installed. In fact, it's a version of firmware that you can't get publicly yet. There are some technical reasons for that, but that is the case. Now, it is important you do not try to update the firmware with the firmware that is on the website, because that's actually a downgrade and it could technically brick your goggles. I don't want to use the word brick really, because brick necessarily isn't right, but it will render them not usable a minute. We don't know what it will take to get them usable yet, but the very simple fact is this. If you're getting a batch of HDZero goggles right now, in 2023, you don't need to update the firmware today. I will put a PSI out again when the new firmware is available. When you get your new goggles, enjoy them. They are working. don't touch firmware, they will stay working. And that is the basics. Now, there's been a lot of hoo-ha around this, and more than I think it warrants, in the sense of, okay, a couple of people have managed to brick their goggles. That isn't good. That isn't the user's fault. I'll be honest, we can lay blame here very squarely on HDZero, because in the manual it says you should go to the website to update the firmware with the latest version, and on the website was a version that could brick the goggles. Look, it's a bit of a mess. These things happen. However, these goggles were never fully open source, in the sense of open source hardware and open source software. They are open source in the sense of they are publishing some parts of the software openly, but it doesn't mean it is a complete open source software like you see on Express ELRS. And as of today, the new firmware is behind closed doors for a couple of reasons. It will be available soon to existing goggles users. If you're a current, the easiest way to think about this is a 2022 goggle user, you're fine. You can update via the website, but just hold a minute. Just don't bother. Wait for this new firmware to come out. If you're a 2023 goggle person, don't update until I say it's good to do so. Now, that is only for the audience of my channel because I have recommended these. Now, the second batch of the goggles are shipping. There are some minor tweaks on the second batch which have an effect, and they come with a new version of Linux, an updated version of Linux. That is going to be coming to these goggles when that new firmware releases, so that's what's going to happen. As a result of that, the firmware update process is going to be a little bit more complicated because it's like a core OS upgrade. We will talk about that on the channel when it is time as well, and I will put a video on it and I will do it myself. I do have access to an early version of it, but I haven't installed it yet. I'll be doing it when it publicly releases. I think I will. That's probably the safest bet right now. But the real thing in this message is this: if you're a version 2, if you're a 2023 goggles owner, just wait until it is clear it is safe to do so. Hopefully, HDZero will release the firmware in the very near future. They have a lot of things they're balancing at the same time right now, but that is the situation. I hope everyone who gets their goggles is enjoying them. I think they're fantastic. Just get them out the box and enjoy them and stop worrying about firmware a minute and you will be fine. When the proper firmware is out, we will talk about it. So, that's the situation on that. Just catching up on the chat a second. Hello from Switzerland, how are you? Let's just go down. There was a bigger release of Mini 3 firmware. I haven't looked at that yet. Would it be possible to get a list of DJI controllers of which drones they can be used with? Not easily. I could probably label it off the top of my head. That would be an interesting one. I bet you can I get this off the top of my head? Yeah, probably. We'll have a go at that in a minute. Just reading down further on the chat. Come back up. Sub people, how are you? Bonafide Pirate, how are you, my friend? Hey. So, if there's any questions on the HDZero thing, just put them in the chat. I'll try and answer them. But that's the situation with that today. Now, as we mentioned DJI, it has been a big week for DJI with the release of the Goggles Integra, but we've also had firmware updates. And for those who haven't seen, I've put a few things up on Instagram as well as other places on YouTube as well. I'm going to talk about them a bit in a minute too. There's a nice feature in the new firmware, which I really like. I really like. And I'm going to quickly... I'm going to show this here because if I actually deleted it, let's just have a look. I have a video with it in going live on the channel as well. But there is this... 2 new things that DJI have added. Make sure the audio is off. The first one is this indication now, just to show you on the desktop. Now, I'm going to turn my camera off because I'm right in the way. And it's this indication on low signal. Now, I have shown this on YouTube and Instagram, but just to show, when the signal now starts getting low, you'll see an amber or I should say, a red band appear along the bottom. So, if I just start playing on this, you'll see a red and amber band appear as I start losing signal. So there you can see there's a band along the bottom has gone amber. and it sort of points up towards the signal a bit there as well. And then it goes red as the signal drops further. Now, I think this is actually really quite cool. In the real world, you can see it there. I took the aircraft for a flight, and you can see that it does indicate along the bottom when the signal level is starting to get low. Now, I'll be honest, I wish DJI had done a red box all the way around. I don't really know why they didn't do a full box on this. I don't get it. It's an amazingly simple feature, but it is very, very good. And I'll be honest, the first time I saw it, I thought there was something wrong with my goggles. I thought the displays were playing up or something. I was like, what's this yellow at the bottom? What's that about? And actually, when I was using it for the first time, I was using it on the Goggles 2, which are these here, with the screen set to 90% to replicate the image I was seeing on the Integras. And I was like, oh, is there something wrong with my displays? And then I realized what it was. As someone said, like Avatar. Avatar does the same now, yes. Yeah. It will do it on 03, the Vista and the Air unit, only on the Goggles 2 and Integra. It is not available on the V2s. Only the Goggles 2 and the Integras. Hello, Mads. Explain, please. Can I remove OSD while streaming from Goggles 2 via Cost Streamer? Are you streaming with the app? There is an option on the Goggles 2 to turn off the... Oh, no, you're not going to be able to. No. Can you get a clean video out on the Goggles 2? I thought you could. Yes, 27th of the 3rd firmware. That's correct. With a Raspberry Pi. So you're connecting that to the USB-C. I can't remember, do the Goggles 2 have the option to have a clean output via Cost Streamer? I don't know if you're going to get it via Cost Streamer. The Fly app, I think you can remove it. The biscuits are here. I have one to the side. But yes, that's one of the new features DJI have added. There is another one, which I'll put in the video tomorrow. I won't spoil it yet, but there is a second feature DJI have added too. Which is going to be available now and hopefully on the 03A unit as well. Now, obviously, I put a big video out this week talking about the Integras. And actually, it's a really good question here from Steve Jobs, and we'll talk about that in a second. Overall, what I have found super interesting with that review was the amount of negativity towards these goggles. I am astonished at the amount of negativity towards the Integras. Now, they're not here. There is a reason why they're not here, because they're in a box ready to go. Because that's what my plan is. But they are very, very good. But I think a lot of people got the message wrong that I was giving out. At no point was I saying you should get rid of these and buy the Integras. At no point was I saying you should get rid of these and buy the Integras. What I was saying was, if you're going to buy a set of the DJI OLED goggles, the choice is between these and the Integras. And I don't see there is enough reason to buy these. Now, I wasn't suggesting anyone should sell these to go and get the Integras. If you're happy with the V2s, don't sell them. Carry on. You're fine. That video was really about if you're going to buy them from scratch. If you're buying a set and if you were considering the goggles too, I genuinely think the Integras are better. It's $150 saving in the US. Is the heavy battery uncomfortable in your head? No, absolutely not. It is fine. Can I feel it on the back of my head? Yes. But look, what makes me laugh about this battery thing? There are loads of people going, the battery's big and heavy. I made a bracket for the V2s that allowed you to clip the battery on the back of your head. It's got to be here. I gave away loads of them. Loads of them. It's on Thingiverse. There are people who strap Fat Shark batteries to their head, but yet it's attached on this and everyone's flipping out. It just adds balance. That's all it does. It's not heavy. It just adds balance. Is it extra weight? Yes, but that weight's either here or here. It's not particularly bad. If you want to know about heavy goggles, try the original white goggles or the Goggles RE. They were heavy. It's fine. The battery's fine. Now, there are some interesting questions. Battery longevity. We don't know how long the cells are going to last. How long the battery life is, it's going to take a lot longer testing for things. Can you charge it on USB? Yes. Can you charge it with the DJI battery? Yes. Can you use it with the DJI battery? Yes. So if you've got a V2 with a V2 battery, you can just plug it in and it'll work on the USB to USB. But I think they are a better buy. Now, I don't know for sure that you're going to be able to attach an external battery to this. I have said when we looked inside, and let me just find the footage for this. We're just going to go to where it should be for those who didn't see the review. Let me just find it. Raw video, and we're going to go with Integra. I've lost it. Goggle Integra. We had the internal images of the battery when my computer it's on an external drive at the moment, so it's going to be running a little bit slow. So let me bring this up. So this is the internals, okay? Ooh, no, that's the wrong one. We want that one. So this is the internals on the Integra. So you've got the batteries, the 18650s either side, and then you've got this small battery management board here. Now, if we just go on to this one, you'll see the inside of that board. You can see that there's a little component there, a little component there. I didn't flip it over, but there are two components. Now, I don't believe for 1 second they're BMS. There's not enough circuitry for that to be BMS. Could there be more on the other side? Absolutely. Definitely. But I'm not convinced it's BMS. I think the BMS is inside the goggle. You've got 3 wires, which I think is each cell. For battery monitoring, I think they're just pushing each cell. Actually, there's 4. Ground, positive, and probably each cell is what they're putting up. Could be data. Could be. But I think you're going to have no problems being able to power these externally. I just don't think it's going to be a problem. But obviously, we're going to have to see. But it has surprised me the amount of hate towards the goggles. You know, people saying things like, what you're saying doesn't make sense. You know, you're saying they're better, but they're cheaper. Well, in many ways, they are. There are many ways they are. And that's my point. For me, the optics were definitely better. Now, let me just check on the chat a sec. Is the battery uncomfortable on my head? No, I said that. I like how the V1, the V2 handles vistas better. Yeah, absolutely. The V2 are the... Look, let me be clear. The V2 goggles are probably the smartest buy today. But remember, they're not going to be around forever. Will the bind issue with the V2 and O3S be solved, or is this hardware issue? It isn't hardware. So, hey, Happy Bipob, I don't know how to say your name. Happy Bipo, I think it is, asks, will the bind issue on the V2s with O3 Vista be solved, or is it hardware? Right, it isn't hardware. But to resolve it is basically going to take a complete firmware rewrite. Or maybe not a complete rewrite, but an amount of dev time DJI is just not going to do. If they were going to do it, it would have been done long ago. You've got to take into account, when the V2s released, they released with just firmware for the air unit, because they released before the DJI FPV drone. Then they added the FPV drone firmware. Then they added the Avata firmware. Then they added the O3 firmware. They have added 4 versions of firmware, yet they've never resolved that issue. There has been countless firmware updates in between as well. It isn't ever getting fixed. That is the simple answer. DJI must find a fix on GPS on the Goggles 2. The phone thing is a big joke. This really isn't. DJI won't do anything else now. I've seen people say, will DJI release a module, like a GPS module? No. I don't see them doing it. No, not going to happen. Basically, just connect your phone. That's the basic option they've given you. I don't think for 1 minute they'll do anything else. Let me just scroll down. Yes, the James Locke, does the FCC hack still work? Yes, I state in the video the FCC hacks do work. Basically, they are software-wise identical to the Goggles 2, apart from they don't have the ability to stream in. So you can't stream because they have no Wi-Fi. And there's a new strange feature that puts a bit of a black band around the display. Now, something I didn't mention in the video, there is a little bit more pin cushion on those goggles compared to the Goggles 2. It isn't dramatic for me. I didn't think it was bad, so I didn't mention it. But there is a little bit. But DJI have added this feature, which they say clears up the distortion around the edges. And it puts a very thin black band around the edges. I don't know what is different on the Goggles 2 to the Goggles Integra that warrants that. I'm not convinced the displays are the same. I'm not sure they are. It is in the manual, that feature. If I just find it, because it is quite interesting. DJI. It's actually, the quickest place for me to find it would be on Discord. I've been offline this afternoon. Oh, I got some messages. Let me just find this. It's something, here it is. It's called screen masking, okay? So this feature is called screen mask. And what DJI say is this. The edges of the image transmission and screen recording may be distorted. Now this hints that it's coming in off the DVR. But anyways. The screen mask function can add a black border to the image to cover obvious distortion. This function is enabled by default and the recorded footage will include the black border. Users can disable screen masking function in the following way, and you do it that way. Now, this isn't on the Goggles 2. And it is a very thin band that goes around the side. Why would they have this on the Integras and not the Goggles 2? But also, if it's not a display issue, why is it being recorded? It can't be a display issue because it's being recorded on the DVR. If it was the actual OLEDs, you would see it, but it wouldn't be on the DVR. Let me just bring up the chat. So that's a weird one. It happened on the Goggles 2 since new update. I couldn't find that option on the Goggles 2. It's almost like something has changed, and I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. So, interesting. And I couldn't find that option in the Goggles 2. It happens on the Goggles 2. So what are you saying? You're seeing on the Goggles 2 image distortion. Is that what you're saying? I'm waiting for my goggles now and want to be ready. I heard about camera view option in goggles, which gives clean streaming without OSD. Yeah, I'm sure there is an option. So what I recommend, the V2s with the Avata for $850 on Amazon or $1,000 for the Avata with the Integra. James, it's down to how much money you want to spend. The V2s are a very, very good goggle. There is no specific reason not to choose the V2s. I'll be honest with you. Apart from if you're going to use it with multiple systems and have to rebind all of the time. Isn't it only for the goggles too, Mike Bourbon? Bad for life. Let me just check back up. The band, the yellow band, is only on the Integras and the goggles too. The yellow or red band. Happy Bio, thank you for the super chat, my friend. I really appreciate that. It happens on goggles too since new updates. That option, is it not in the display settings? The yellow low megabits bar happened on stock after update, or are we talking about something else? The yellow on low megabits, it happened at stock after update, or are we talking about something else? The yellow bar was added in the last, yellow and red bar was added in the last firmware. Yeah, the black box around the screen is new, but that's only on the Integras. It's not on the goggles too. The bind is different on the Integra. Yes, you bind them differently. You bind the Integras just like you bind the Avatar drone. You press and hold the power button once it's turned on. So there's no bind button. I didn't cover that in the video specifically, but it's exactly the same process as binding the Avatar. So you just turn them on and then press and hold the power button and it kicks it into binding. Not particularly difficult. It really doesn't warrant a dedicated bind button on these. It just doesn't. For the sake of a button, you just don't need it when they have that way of doing it. DJI have tidied that up. Obviously, the Integras also don't have that sensor either. But what they do have, and I didn't mention this in the video, is a countdown timer. So the displays don't go off on the Integras when you take them up off your head. The displays are always on. But if it loses video or loses connection, it will count down a 1 minute countdown timer to go into standby. And they'll actually enter standby. So if you take them off your head and put them down, they'll enter a standby mode. Is the image jittery on the goggles too with the versus the V2 with freestyle flying from a lower refresh rate? It's hard to look. You have to take into account jitter is complicated because are we talking jitter or frame rate? People are still getting very confused on how Goggles 2 work with O3. The only modes, and these are camera modes, you get 100 frames a second on O3. These goggles here is 100 frames a second recording modes. If you are not in 100 frames a second recording modes on O3, you're in normal latency mode. So 25, 30, 50, 60, 120 frames a second modes, you are all in high latency. You're only in low latency in 100 frames a second modes. And this is the compromise with O3. You can't really use O3 to get really nice cinematic footage at low frame rates and have low latency. You just can't do it. The system does not allow. The latency is tied to the video recording modes, and the only video recording mode that gives you low latency mode on O3 is 100 frames a second recording. And that is why people are seeing jitter, because people are saying, oh, well, I'm recording at 30 frames a second because that's what I want to record at, but I'm seeing jitter because you're not actually in low latency mode. You only get low latency mode on O3 in 100 frames a second, and that's why it will never replace your GoPro, because you can't record decent cinematic footage at low frame rates. Is the anti-fog better? Spidit says, it is too early for me to say. Look, it's the wrong time of year for me to test anti-fog. It's going to need more time. They do, though, now have vents around the face mask that weren't in the original ones. It's actually in the face mask itself. If you watch the video, I showed the vents. There's additional vents in there now. Let me find that just to show you. Let me close that. There are additional vents in the back of the mask. So if we go to here, you can now see these where I'm pointing, look. So this is the original mask at the top, and there's these very thin vent cutouts that go to the top of the goggle now, all the way down, which should give additional airflow. Obviously, it's not fan driven, but it is additional paths of air that is going to be able to pass out of the mask area. Howdy, Northern Tier FPV. How are you? Oh, Mr. Booth. Hello, Ken. Wow, we are privileged tonight. For those who don't know who Ken is, I'm going to upset him now. For those who don't know who Ken is, this is the one and only Ken Booth. So for those who've been around RC groups for a very long time, you will have known him as Blade Strike. He is someone I deem as a very, very good friend. He's also someone who's got me into trouble many, many times over the years. We did some good work on the DJI groups. Ken was DJI staff and got me into a lot of trouble. Ever since we all left, though, Ken, they don't talk to any of us anymore. But what did Ken ask? Does it hold the bind for multiple craft? Yes, they do, finally. So the Goggles 2 and the Integras both hold binds now. Yeah. But you can only use the 2 and Integras with Avata 03 and the original Air units on the new firmware. But yes, we are privileged to have Ken. I need to get my monitor closer so I can see tonight. I am struggling. Have you found the option to clean view camera? Everyone focused on the better quality, not so much the latency. So we have the DJI FPV goggles, the DJI FPV goggles 2, the DJI FPV goggles... Sorry, let me rephrase this. Gamma Gonad has said, so we have the DJI FPV goggles, the DJI FPV goggles version 2, the DJI FPV goggles 2, and now we have the DJI Goggles Integra. Yes. And actually, we have the DJI FPV goggles version 1. You also have the DJI FPV goggles and the Goggles RE Racing Edition as well, if you go back far enough. DJI's naming scheme is shocking as always. I just bought a DJI Avata first gen. Should I return it and get the Integra package instead? OC Lookups asked. No, you're fine. Don't worry. They're fine. Okay, here's an interesting question. If you can get the V2s, I haven't looked at the pricing on this, okay? If you can get the V2s package for the same price as the Integra package, I'm not sure where I'd stay on that. It depends if you're going to use older Air units. It depends if you want OLED. Yes, the Integra... Harrod in Daytona asks, does the Integra support head tracking? Yes. I forgot to mention that in the video. I made it as a bit of an assumption that it does. It has everything. It has everything the Goggles 2 has, apart from what I said it hasn't got. So, just to be clear, it doesn't have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, therefore no wireless streaming in. It doesn't have a touchpad. It doesn't have the LED pad on the side. It doesn't have the proximity sensor and a dedicated bind button, and it doesn't have manual focus. That's it. Everything else is the same. Is it possible to record goggles footage with OSD 03 and Goggles V2? No. I don't think the V2s record OSD. Off the top of my head, the V2s don't. They record a clean feed. Only the Goggles 2 can record camera view. Just off the top of my head. And the reason for this is this. Okay, the Goggles V2 are missing one big processor that the new goggles have. They've added the E3T, which is the Eagle, which is the media processor. That is in these new goggles. It isn't in the other ones. Right, let me just have a look here. Is it true the antennas aren't removable on the Integra? Bad for Life asks. Yes, in my testing. I tried as hard as I could to pull them off, and they won't come off. Short of breaking them, I don't know what to say. Now, that is potentially a deal breaker for some people. However, here's my thoughts on that. There is a man who has flown these goggles, who we can't really say because he's in a bit of trouble right now. I'm going to put the desk up. An extortionate distance without additional antennas. I don't think anyone really needs more antenna on the goggle, the DJI O3 system. I know Hugo at TrueRC has a lovely set of XA2s. I'll be honest, I don't think you need to upgrade the antennas on these. Now, if you're someone that absolutely wants to, then maybe the Goggles 2 are a better option. However, you could still save that $150 and take the back face mask off and just put UFL to pigtails on yourself and do it manually. If you want plug and play, you're going to have the Goggles 2, though. Big difference. It is going to make a difference. I'm not saying it won't, but how many people really need it is the question. Yeah, we can't talk about that. Yeah, it's not really a graphics chip, but it is. It's a hard chip to use. Now, let me just find an image that I was looking for, because I want to talk about a bit of controversy as well. And look, I have been shocked by the amount of hate towards these goggles on Facebook and my video. In fact, it's been insane, the amount of people who are getting bent out of shape over these goggles, not only for the fact that they have virtually the same spec for cheaper, but also the fact that they have this on board. Now let me just open this image up and bring it here, and I haven't shown this yet, but this is available for those who've seen. Here is the offending article. There is the GPS module that everyone is getting bent out of shape over. So yes, the Goggles 2 don't have a GPS module, but the Integras do. You can see here the antenna situation is exactly the same. So the pigtails come down to the board there and there. So this is where you would have to go on if you wanted to manually do the antennas. So you could just undo them and pop them out. These are not mine. This is an image credit of Flyfish RC Community by Flyfish Robbie. He shared this, but there is the offending article. There is the onboard GPS module. Now, I don't subscribe for all the hearsay nonsense and belief that DJI is suddenly going to force rid on O3. They may turn it on, but I don't. The GPS being in there is not going to make it any more likely they're going to force rid on O3. Look, here's an interesting fact. If you have a concern about your privacy, if you have a concern about your data, I'll be honest, don't fly any DJI product. It's a real simple rule. If you have a problem, then just don't fly their product. And I'm not saying they steal your data. I'm not saying, because, look, I've seen this. I've been around a long time. Not quite as long as Ken, but me and Ken have been around a long time. We've seen all of the accusations. Some of it's been true at times. They've done a little bit dodgy things here and there. But overall, DJI does not steal your data. But if you have a concern about DJI doing something you don't like, then don't buy their products. That's a fact. There's no point. You can worry about they may do something. They may turn on red. They may not. They may release an update that forces you to turn the bathroom light on every time you use the system. They may not. They may go out of business tomorrow. They may not. We can't live in mays. We can only live in facts. The GPS module being in there makes it no more likely. If they want to force rid, they'll just do what they did on the Avata and make you connect your smartphone. The current system is just as susceptible to that. There's nothing any more likely as a result of there being a GPS module in the goggle. It simply makes it easier for people who have to comply with RID. Did they unplug it and was it still working? I don't know. I've not heard that. You can unplug it. I would guess it will give an error. In the past, any part of a DJI system that doesn't work, it'll give an error. Fact, Gigsvana, Sean, how DJI track your bowel movements? Absolutely. So, yeah, the GPS module is there. It is what it is. Look, let's not worry about ifs, buts, and maybes. We can only deal with what we think is going to happen. Sorry, I've just lost my window. Where is it gone? Oh, it's moved to here. Sorry, the window I had moved. Let's put that back to there. There we go. I'm in a bit of a mess tonight. I'm not in my usual order. Let's bring the chat back up. Are they selling diapers along with the goggles? Just catching up. So, if there's any other questions on the Integras, look, overall, my stance remains the same. I think they're a bloody good goggle for the money. Yeah, John Rossner, people are not mad because they have GPS built in. They're mad because they've already spent their money on other versions. There will always be something new. There will always be the next product. You can never worry about what's around the corner. That's just the way it is. There's been rumours about the light version since before the release of the goggles 2. Do I think, Joseph Dawson, do I think we will see another non-FPV drone supporting the goggles, such as the Mini 2 Pro? I don't know. Look, DJI's internal politics on product compatibility is probably the most unpredictable thing on the planet. Trying to understand what they're going to do. I've said this last week. With regards to pure coin, if you want to make money, DJI will sell more FPV goggles. They'll sell more of these to Mavic users than they ever will FPV users. If they wanted to make money, they would make these goggles, just these, compatible with the Mavic 3 and the Mini on 03 Plus. They would sell more than they ever will on FPV, yet they don't do it. Why? I genuinely don't know. I can't answer the question. It makes zero business sense. It's software. We are at the stage now where this is all software, yet they choose not to do it. I don't get it. I don't get it. I just cannot answer the question of why. It's probably going to take dev time. It's probably going to take work. I'm not saying it won't, but it's if wets and wavies. Now, as for what these goggles will work with next, if I was a betting man, there will be a new FPV drone in the next 2 months. I suspect we'll see a new version of the FPV. They could retire the FPV drone and just stick with the Avata. The Avata has been hugely successful. The FPV drone was not very good as an FPV drone. It was very good as a learner drone, but it was far too brittle. So the first time you crashed it, you ripped all the arms off. So that made it very bad as a learner drone. What made it very good as a learner drone was its safety features and how easy it was. But overall, it was a very hard product to recommend because you'd outgrow it very quickly, and in the first crash, you'd rip his arms off. What DJI got right with the Avata was they took everything they did well in the FPV drone and put it in a package which is, it's literally bomb-proof. That drone is really hard to damage. When I had that flip with it in the field, it rolled like 30 times and it was fine. The Avata, DJI have done so well. So well. It is almost perfect for what it is. As a lunar drone, it's fantastic. You can crash it. The ducts are ridiculously hard. They have got it so right. I do wonder if they went a step too far with the FPV drone, even from their own care point of view, having to repair them. So I can see them ending that and never bothering again and just staying with maybe the Avata. I can actually see an Avata big, I don't know what we call it, XL. I could see a 6-inch Avata being quite popular. Genuinely. 5-inch, probably 5 or 6-inch Avata. I could see that happening. 5 or 6-inch cine loop. More power, smaller ducts, but take everything they did well there. I could see that happening. That's what I would do if I was them. So, just catching back up. Avata 2, DJI Position Holder's bulletproof frame would be good for beginners. Yeah, and that's what, bad for life. That's what you've got with the Avata. That is what you've got with the Avata. Non-stop FPV, my voltage and... Oh, hey, wait there, I want to catch up on a super chat. Eric, thank you for the €11 super chat, my friend. That's really amazing. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. No question, so I don't think there's anything to answer, but... I love my potato, Robin says. The Avata 2, I think it'd be something bigger. Chris 2S. Hi, I updated firmware, but 7-pin cable that came with HDZero VTX is too big for the Whoop light board. Do I know the name of the smaller pin? No, but it should have come with the VTX. You should have an adapter and a cable with the Whoop light VTX. I actually had a cable originally that went between the two, but they now issue a cable and an adapter. It should be in the box with the VTX. Mine is up here. Got that one. Right. So, it should look like this. So you should have a cable like this. Let me just come in close. Come on, focus. So you should have a cable like this and an adapter like this on the Whoop light. That's what you should have. Hello, James Shields. How are you? We're working down the super chats. Ramdonko, how are you? Hey Ian, Flyzone Drone, how are you, my friend? Hope you're safe and well. Goggles 2 is better if you share because of adjustable diopters versus popping lenses in. Absolutely, 100%. If you have to swap the goggles between multiple people, Goggles 2 are definitely a better option. Delete Delta, thank you for the information. There's no difference between 9V or 12V from the Maytech Beck for 03. I was afraid after your measurements video. Yeah, you'll be fine. 9V, as long as it's 9V 1.5 amp roughly, you'll be fine. I've been using 9V 2 amp and 03 and it's been good. Yeah, you'll be fine. 9V, about 1.5 amp, you'll be fine. It gets dodgy at 8V, you'll be fine at that. The flying potato is still relevant. It's a very good drone, but it, you look at it and its arms fall off. Eric, forgot to add the question, lols. You've paid again. You could have just posted. Still up for the DJI controller combinations for drones? Yes. Oh my God. Right. This is going to take some going. To do this, I'm going to work backwards. Not forwards. Backwards. I'm going to get one or two of these wrong. But, so, on FPV, it's fairly straightforward. FPV Remote version 2 is Avata, DJI FPV drone, and 03, and the air units on the 03 firmware. The FPV Black Remote works with the air units on the Goggles V1 and V2 on the original firmware. The RCN1, which is DJI's most common remote today, works on the Mavic 3 series, the Mini 2 and 3 with OcuSync, A2S, A2. The DJI RC Pro works on the Mavic 3, Mini 3, but I don't think it works on the Mini 2. Now this is where I get a bit sketchy. Then you had the Smart Controller 2, which works on the Mavic 2, the Air, I think it was. It is a mess. And then you start getting into like the dodginess around, like for instance, if you jump right back, you got the GL 300 and the 600s for the Inspire 1 and Phantom 3, GL 300 and 600. Then you had, yeah, it gets confusing then. That's as close as I'm going to get. Syndent is Inspire 2, as is GL 700 on Inspire 2 as well, which was the other remote control. RCN1 is the most compatible remote. I flew today, Apex 5-inch and 03 goggles too. Loved the picture from 03. Yeah, DKFPV, it is fantastic. It is as good as it gets. Walksnail Master Race checking in. How are you, Matthew? Their new V2 VTX setup basically makes DJI irrelevant as they should be. I don't think you can really say... Okay, the V2 from Walksnail makes the system better than it was. I find it very... It doesn't make DJI irrelevant. Avatar still has some big issues they need to resolve. The image is better. It's not perfect. It still doesn't have proper focus mode, doesn't have ride-along. Okay, I know the ride-along's coming, or spectator mode. The RF behavior is still a little bit all over the place. It still needs work. Is it better? Absolutely. It is today a product that isn't alpha. We've got to remember how far it's come, because it was an alpha product when it was originally released. By a country mile, it was an alpha product. But today, it's fair to call it a stable product. But it still has... Avatar cannot remotely touch 03 with regards to how it looks. Not even in the same century. What DJI did with 03 took it so far ahead was ridiculous. 03 basically doesn't break up. Anyone who flies 03, you'll know. It only breaks up at the very, very point of loss. It doesn't do what the V2 system did with this blocking all of the time. It barely blocks now. It holds, and then it starts to drop. It's much better. Have I messed with the new V2 VTXs? Walksnail VTX. I have two here. I haven't done anything more with them. Is there still issue with fogging in the Integra? Vice versa, FPV says. I can't answer yet. It's too early to say. We have to see what the effect of the little vents on the new face mask makes. OC, look it up. I'm watching your video now on how to update and bind Avatar FPV drone, and you think thanks for help watching. I'm watching the live stream at the same time. You're awesome. Oh, thank you for that, my friend. Thanks, Ian. Appreciate it. Avatar needs to address latency. Yeah, it's not too bad. Spectator mode is my only outstanding concern. The compression still needs work. It's still not there. The compression is still a problem on Avatar. Non-stop FPV. After updating my DJI Goggles 2 to the latest firmware, my voltage and my OSD stopped working in 03 units, air units only. That's weird. Make sure you haven't set it to HD canvas, because there's now an option for HD canvas. You've got HD and non-HD. Something I would do is, if you're having strange behavior after updating, just reset them. Reset the goggles to factory and try again. ELRS at 1 watt and 03 is a breeze. After the new V2s came out, I think they got firmware for the new V2 messing with the old VTX. James Ock, sorry to keep asking, but I'm literally about to buy now. Just wondering, would I need to use my smart tone with the V2s and Avatar? Yeah, okay, James. So, if you're in America, yes. So, here's an advantage. If you're in the USA, which has remote ID guidelines, to use the Avatar, you will have to have your smartphone connected. If you get it with the Goggles Integra, you would not need to have your smartphone connected. So there is a benefit to having the Integra in that respect. But that only affects USA users. No, UK. You're fine. No remote ID in the UK as of today. How long is Cadix... RDL, how long is Cadix making the Vista still? As long as they make them, I'm willing to stay on V2. They haven't made the Vista for quite some time. They are no longer making cameras. So Cadix are no longer making the Vista. It's fair to say they never made the Vista. They got it from DJI. They just put their name on it. Cadix no longer have Vistas. Cadix are no longer making cameras for DJI. The only people officially selling and making cameras for the DJI original system is Runcam, the Runcam Link Air unit, which is the Vista, and the Phoenix camera, and the Phoenix, and I can't remember the name of the other one. The sad fact is there is no good camera available to buy today for the original FPV system. The proper decent cameras for the original DJI FPV system was the Nebula Pro and the DJI camera. Neither of them are anymore in production. You are left with the Runcam Wasp, just come into my head, which is a limited camera. It still does 120 frames a second, but it's limited to 4x3, and the Runcam Phoenix. All of the other cameras are gone. You will only get what is in stock. When there's no stock, that's it. But the basics are today, the original other system is coming to an end. It's dying. There are very few cameras available. As I said, the Nebula Pro and the DJI camera were the only two cameras that had proper full support for all of the features. James, thank you. Bought Flywheel Nano Baby 20 with HDZero, no cable. Ah, you're boned. You're going to have to reach out to HDZero. Is it on the HDZero website? That is Flywheel's problem. I would speak to Flywheel and say, where's my cable for updating? That's BS, that is, on Flywheel. James Locke, Wales. Ah, you be fine, James. Don't worry about it. Slackistar, what is O3 connection scheme? Remote, goggles, ear unit, remote. Okay, goggles to ear unit, remote to ear unit. There is also a link between the remote and the goggles that bounces all over the place, but traditionally they're both to the ear units. Yes, Bobby, I spoke at the top of the hour, at the start of the show on that one, my friend. We started with that at the start. What about the Runcam link? Runcam link, Wasp, and Phoenix cameras is it. First time watching you live, just noticed, not subscribed. Thank you for that, WK. Love the Falcon Nano HD. With Cadex, Walksnail doing their own thing, I assume they bailed on DJI. Yeah, I think the way that went, and we don't know for sure, is they announced the system, DJI went, we're no longer selling to you. Shock horror. Joseph Dawson, a sub 250 FPV drone would be amazing for us in Canada. We can basically fly anywhere with sub 250, plus it would not need remote ID. Sub 250 O3 drone is this. The Defender 25 from iFlight. That is, I think, as close as you're going to get to the sub 250 out the door. It's not all of DJI's technology, obviously. It's just O3, but that is as close as you're going to get, I think. What I will say, though, it isn't remotely as robust as the Avata. The duct is quite weak. I broke it on my first few flights. But it's a great little drone. I do like it a lot. I do like it. It doesn't have GPS, no. You could fit GPS on it, but then you're probably going to be over 250 grams. But you can buy it as under 250 grams and add GPS. There's plenty of space for a GPS module up front. What happens with the GPS if you want to fly indoors? WK, we don't really know. I can't test that in the UK. You'd have to be in the US to test that. We don't really know. I wouldn't be shocked if DJI have introduced... Look, it should be exactly the same as what happens today with RID. It should be identical. Whatever happens today on the Avata in the USA... indoors is what's going to happen with the goggles to GPS. They've just moved the module. Nothing should change. How does anyone ever mention Runcam Falcon Nano? I always miss that one. Fortune Cookie, thank you for the sub. Is there any way to have HDZero goggles head tracking wireless to Radio Master boxes and Bluetooth box from Bluetooth? Not that I'm aware. Is there a way to have HDZero goggles head tracker wireless to Radio Master Boxer TX16 Bluetooth? No, but I believe there's some interesting stuff going on with Express ELRS in that respect. Watch this space. I've seen something on that. What company do I recommend for screwdrivers? As you could say, the LTT screwdriver. No. To be honest, the best tool I got at the moment is this. This is this Tarot screwdriver for the bench. This fits like 90% of stuff. I like stuff like this, which is like an all-in-one, but I don't really spend money on expensive screwdrivers. I just like ones that aren't like cheese. Jeff Good, $10. Thank you for that, my friend. If the Integra does not have a record button, per the last video, does that mean the old ear unit? Does that mean the old ear unit Vista auto record? No, no. There's no physical record button, is what I mean. You can still set it to record in the menu, just like before. What there isn't is an external record button like on the V2s. You've still got exactly the same method of recording via the menu. Swipe down or pull down on the joystick and hit record. But what there isn't is a physical external record button. I probably didn't make that clear enough. You can still record from the menu. It doesn't auto-record on the other ear units either. But you just don't have a physical button. Thank you for the $10 super chat, though, my friend. That's amazing. And Joseph Dawson for the 550 Canadian. That's amazing. Oh my God, 03 Explorer with 03. Can you confirm the faceplate of the G2 better fit? Okay, Matt Cron. Can you confirm faceplate of the Goggle 2 Integra fit G2 and is better in fitting wearing goggles? So, yes, the faceplates are interchangeable. For me, for me, the new faceplate is a little better. I can't say what it's going to be like for you. There are a number of changes to the faceplate. The plastic is slightly different. Where it goes around the nose is different. It is interchangeable. I found it put less pressure on my nose. It wasn't perfect, but I found it put less pressure on it. So you're going to have to try it for yourself. But it does fit. If you were starting HD FPV with a budget in mind, would it be a merit to go V2s with Runcan Link, Phoenix, HD Wasp, or should you someone hold off and save for 03? Fortune cookie. So, V2s give you all of the options. You can safely buy V2s today and all of the older ear units and then move up to 03 in the future as well. The V2 is absolutely the smart option today. But remember, the Goggles 2 and the Integras will work with those new old ear units as well on the new firmware, and you actually get benefits. So the question now is, are you better buying V2s or Goggle Integras for using with the old ear units? I'd actually argue you're better going Integras because you're getting full OSD, MSP OSD, and you're getting proper future-proofing. Where the V2s come in is if you intend to fly the DJI FPV drone or the Avatar. Sorry, or really the FPV drone, sorry. The Avatar doesn't matter. The Goggles 2 will do Avatar. Really comes into it if you're going to fly the FPV drone. If you're flying your own gear, you can just update all the ear units and use them with the Goggles 2 stroke Integras. That's fine. The smart choice on the Goggles V2, which is these ones here, is if you want to fly them with 4 products. So, DJI FPV drone, Avatar, DIY FPV, or 03. If you're just starting out, you may as well go Integra Goggles 2 because you can still use the old ear units on the latest firmware. You just have to update them to the new firmware. The only real downside is you wouldn't be able to use them if anyone else had V2 goggles. Hold on, this supports I1D. Hold on, this supports old big ear units. Right, remember, the V2s and V1s work with the old ear units, i.e. the Caddx Vista, Runcam Link, and DJI ear unit. This. And this. on the V2s in DIY mode, on the V2s and the V1s. The Goggles 2 and Integra work with this, which is 03, and will work with these two as long as you update them to the very latest firmware. But what you have to understand is this. When you upgrade these to the latest firmware, so they work with this goggle, they will no longer work with that goggle. When those two are on the old firmware that work with that goggle, it will not work with this goggle. When you upgrade these to work with the Goggles 2 and Integra, you gain MSP OSD, but what you don't have is recording on the original ear unit. There is no DVR. The basics are, if you keep them on the old firmware, they'll work with the V1 and the V2 goggles. If you put them on the new firmware, they'll work with the new Goggles 2 and the Integras, but you then would have to downgrade the firmware to get them to work on the V2s. If you're starting out today, you can use any of these goggles with any of these ear units. It's your choice which way you go. The only proviso is the V1s don't work with 03, but ignore the V1s. The V2s can work with the original ear units and 03, and the Goggles 2 can work with the original ear units and 03, but there is a separation in the sand, a line of firmware that means they will only work with this one or they'll only work with that one. 03 will go on both. The ear units you have to choose. No auto record on the Goggles 2 with the old ear units either. There's some little feature differences, but overall you can mix. Can you mix the V2s with the Goggles 2 in spectator mode? Yes, in 03 only. Not on the ear units. So, if you have 03 ear unit, you can use spectator mode between these two goggles. If you have these ear units, you cannot spectator between these two goggles. On the old firmware, you'd have to use it on them. On the new firmware, you'd have to have two of these. You can't spectator between the old ear units on these two different versions of goggles. It's a bit complicated, that bit. CB Runner, $10 super chat. Thank you for that, my friend. Got an email from FPV Blue about software-defined radio for HDFPV. Email had pics for people from Orqa. Any info? Look, I know what the email says. The gentleman from FPV Blue was on my Discord today. If you don't know, I have a Discord server and he is on there. He popped in to say hello. David, I think it is. He's a very, very, very clever bloke. I don't really want to go into it too much because there's some stuff I know and some stuff a lot I don't know, but I don't want to step on any toes because there's been some, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I haven't been told yet. I'm waiting to find out. I don't know what I can say. I don't know what I can't say. With regards to Orqa, I know nothing. That I can tell you. Hello, Cool Cat. How are you? Mike Bergen. I feel like getting into HDFPV is like getting into crypto. Might be worth near to nothing the next day. Audio Geek is the truth. The onboard recording is classic on the classic ear unit was never reliable. It was all right for me, but most people it wasn't. Yeah. DJI 03 ear unit silver square with wires coming off it at that point. Will we get goggles? So Hot Rod in Daytona. Will we get Goggles 2 Integra support for the DJI FPV drone? I doubt it. If it was going to happen, it would have happened by now. The FPV drone sits in a weird position. It isn't like any of the other systems. It's 03, but not 03 Plus. It's got a dedicated mode on the V2s, and I suspect it would need a dedicated mode on these. Matthew Jordan, I spoke about the DJI goggles pretty much at the start. Well, just after I talked about the thing. DJI don't make it easy, do they? No, they don't. Is the connector to the FC the same for the O3 and the ear units? No, not remotely. Don't trust the wiring. Do not trust it. It's not the same. It's a different connection, and it may be a different wiring. Don't trust it. Some it will fit, some it won't. Triple check. The Vista didn't have a connector. It was just wires. The DJI ear unit had a connector on one side for the ear unit, which is different to the O3 ear unit. I looked up arm change on a potato and it looked like a 20-hour job the first time. Yeah, it's not a simple task. Okay, right, guys. I'm going to pause for a second and I want to do some shilling a minute. And this is important, okay? I'm doing two things. I want to try and build up my Instagram account a minute because I'm useless and I haven't been using it. But I also want you all to subscribe to my second channel that I haven't been using for a bit. Now, let me just explain this. The second channel was originally where I used to do my live streams, but I've stopped it. Now, I'm going to be doing something else there, but I need to get the subscribers up before I do. Now, this something else may be a complete rip-off of something Mr. Bardwell has done that has worked out very successful, and I know why he's done it, and I am frankly ridiculously impressed by it. I haven't quite decided, but I need your help, right? First of all, I'm going to put a link in, and I don't want you to do it. Don't leave this stream to do this, right? But I want you guys to subscribe to this channel of mine, which is the second one. It's only got 178 subscribers. I'm going to put the link in the chat now, right? Let me find it. I've lost it. Where is it? Where is it? I need as many people on this one as I can as well, because I want to build this one up. Because I want to start using this channel. Now, look, the reality is I am probably going to start posting clips to this. I'll be honest. I'll talk about that in a minute. That is the other channel. I'd appreciate it if as many people as could possible as subscribe to that channel, because I want to get it above 1,000. I can't have it above, I can't monetize it below 1,000. I need to monetize it. That's part of the reason why, okay? And I'm going to do that over time. I'm also going to push my Instagram. Now, there it is. I'm going to start doing a lot more. I've avoided Instagram a little bit, but I have been posting some shorts on it. I'd appreciate it if you amazing people who aren't on there, check it out. I've started putting some little bits on there. I didn't use it a lot, but I am going to start doing a bit more. So, yeah, done a little bit here and there. So I do appreciate it. So that's that. Now, what I mean by ripping off the Bardwell is, look, JB has done something incredibly successful among many things that he's done, but his clips channel is an absolute, it is one of the shrewdest and sharpest moves that I have seen. And the reason is this: you don't want to spam your current channel with loads of clips. But there is so much on these live streams that gets talked that would be easily chop-upable and put onto another channel, like JB's doing. JB does it. Any of us who live stream, right, there is so much you can win from. And look, JB has done such a good job. It's incredible. It genuinely has blown me away, the task he's done on it. And I don't want to copy, but I got really no choice when it's the only real right way of doing it. I would love it if YouTube allowed you to sort of have a separate clip section, not shorts. Shorts is different, but like clips of 1 to, say, 5-minute clips. That would be fantastic. I don't have a Blunty. No, I don't have a Blunty. No, I don't. Blunty, he has done a great job. Genuinely, Blunty has. It is. But what it is really clever at, and this is, and I won't spend too much time on this, is because you're getting double bubble. You're getting multiple slices of the same cherry. From a YouTube analytics, from an income, from from a pure point of view. It is literally a no-brainer. So I'm probably going to do it. There's no point pretending that JB isn't the first to do this well in FPV. I know Botgrinder has his second channel and others, but from a clips point of view, JB has just nailed it. Nailed it. I'm probably going to do something slightly different, but I want to get that channel. I've had that channel for ages. It's just not been used. And what I'm just thinking is convert it into like little clips and put it there. It's that simple. You know, it genuinely though, you know, look, JB has smashed it on that. You know, it is such a clever move. It really, really is. Especially off backs of live streams, you know. So, but what would be really good is YouTube created a dedicated clips section. That would be amazing to keep it out the way. And look, you got to understand, you know, FPV's in free fall right now. Numbers are in free fall. Oh, look how many channels LTT has. Yeah, look how many channels LTT has. Yeah, there's a reason you do that. Linus has something like 8. I can see why. It's a very clever move. But yeah, so I just want... I want to get a bit better at that stuff. Don't start with just... I have had to do some verticals. What I have done the last 2 days is 2 edits I've edited. I've also created less than 1 minute vertical clips for shorts and Instagram. And I'm intrigued to see how they go. They're sort of bite-size info bits is what I would call them. And I would just want to see how they go. I have no idea how anyone makes money on Instagram. That bit has completely passed me by. FPV is in free fall from a numbers point of view. You know, things are very quiet. Things are... Overall, things are quiet. There's a lot of interesting stuff around the corner. But genuinely, view counts are down. Interest is lower than it's been for a while. Money is, you know, things are getting expensive. You're starting to see China build back up again now. Obviously, China was shut down for a bit, which didn't help things. But FPV has, you know, we had this insane part, August to December, where we had all of the digital system releases and everything else. And it was bouncing. And look, I as a channel did very, very well out of that period. I really did. And look, this channel isn't about making money. It's about trying to provide content. But let's be honest and realistic with ourselves. You should never be ashamed about trying to make money because you need money to be able to buy the products. Look, to get those goggles here, I had to spend £1,100. Right? 1,100 quid to get those goggles here. I got an early bite of the cherry off a lucky find that got it me here the next day. They're going back. But, nonetheless, you need money. And you should never be ashamed of that. And look, Patreon's been amazing. Every one of my patrons who supports on that, everyone who helps us, it's been fantastic. But you should not be ashamed of like the YouTube bit. But the ad revenue is just doing that at the moment in FPV. Even view numbers are down. Diversify. Have other income coming into the channels. Sean is the absolute pinnacle of the man I know to diversify in YouTube. Though many of you might not know about how much Sean does outside of it. It's incredible. Sean is the absolute legend when it comes to diversification. Yeah, and this is the thing. Look, socials is shifting. YouTube, look, I'm an old dinosaur that likes YouTube. That's a reality. I've looked at Instagram for a very long time and I'm just like, I don't understand this. And look, my brain, as I understand Instagram, is people basically get paid to post. That's how I figured out Instagram works. And I don't want to do that. That's not what I want to do. We'll have internals very soon. Don't worry. We've already got an internal image, mind. Short attention span section for YouTube. Legend in my own lunch hour. Try selling merch. Yeah, look, I haven't got time for all that stuff. Look, I'm not very good at this, but like Instagram is something that has confused me for a very long time because I was like, I don't get this, and then I suddenly realized I just think everyone big is being paid to say everything. You know, oh, here is this VTX that I'm working on, and look at these amazing DJI goggles that were sent to me. Or actually, that's not right because they wouldn't tell you they were sent to them. If anyone watches Linus's live stream, he was talking about this week. Affiliate links and thing. But no, look, we're trying not to do that. I'm trying not to do that. I don't get Instagram, but look at it. But I go look at it, go figure. FPV is getting bigger, but what you're seeing is a bit of a shrink of like the bubble. Is cross promotion back to your core content? Yeah, that's the interesting thing. And look, what I did on Instagram earlier is just sort of take very short clips and put them there to see how it went. I would love to see you review other electronics. Yeah, potentially. I've dabbled here and there. I do get requests, but I turn most of them down, if I'm honest. Okay, so isn't a help desk something for you, like Blunty? Flying FPV planes? Yeah, I want to do. Funny enough, right? I want to definitely do more fixed wing this summer. I definitely want to do more fixed wing this year. I'm so rusty on fixed wing. I love that little plane. That's the one I showed you on Instagram. She's hanging up there at the moment on a beam, and I'll be going out. The giant power bank review. Do you know what? I would love to do more power bank reviews. Actually, I've been waiting to do a teardown of that. And I've had it in my mind to do it, but I haven't had it. Genuinely, that is something I would love to do more of, power bank stuff. Because we can do it better than most people. Because I can go in with... we can do the spectrum analysis, so we can go in and we can look at the sine wave on the oscilloscope. We can look at how everything is. Do you know what I mean? I would love to do more power banks. Interestingly, it's like everything, right? When you do a video on that stuff, you'll suddenly get companies reach out to you, and it all went very quiet. I was offered a very nice one, which I said yes to, and then they come back and said, sorry, it's no longer available. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Peter Spolley's killing it with mostly plane stuff. I'd genuinely like to fly more fixed wing this year. Yeah, Lee is the king of... Yeah, you are right, Fortune Cookie. Lee is the absolute king of that. And look, when I set up the T1, the Ranger, it was Lee's videos I used. Genuinely, I just sat there and watched Lee's videos on iNav. I always struggled with iNav at times. There's some stuff in iNav that bends my head, that really annoys me in iNav. Like this, if it's not happy... it won't let you do anything. It really winds me up. Yeah, not likely in the UK. ENF FPV. A deeper look at consumer electronics is definitely a market that could be cornered. Yeah, I'd love to, like power banks, but on a real deep level. And actually, that one is here. The EcoFlow. EcoFlow were a company that were a bit to work with. I have no problems with them, but their terms and conditions, I can promise you, went back twice before I agreed to sign them. My views on that were fairly low, but I'm going to do another video on that product. As I said, I want to do a teardown of it. I have actually taken that apart already. It's very well made. Whatever people say about those EcoFlow and others, the product is exceedingly well made. Very, very well made. The only downside to doing a teardown on it is actually it's going to be semi-destructive because they bond everything inside to make sure the connections don't come loose, and they do a really good job of it. I don't know if I've got the images on my external drive. I can't share them with you easily. I have all of the teardown images for that already. Did I put them on the drive, I wonder? Is Wes Varty still producing content? Not at the moment. Did I? Let's have a look. Did I have the teardown images? It is very well made. Very genuinely well made. And I think there's a lot of interest in them. Cell manufacture. Because they buy from the cheapest. Yeah, what I will say is the overall hardware, I saw no cost cutting. Obviously the batteries, but you know, the electronics was top notch. You know, everything was very good. Here we go. I can share with you guys some stuff. Okay, so here is the inside of that EcoFlow from the top off. Now, everything is conformal coated. Everything is sealed. And I'll do this as a proper video. But electronics-wise, it is all very, very well made. I have to say. But everything is sort of bonded as well. So you're going to have trouble getting it apart. Let me just find what else I took. Let me just see. So that's it from above. What I was quite impressed with as well is there's this, like, between the front board and the top board, there's this push-in connector for the 12 volt, I think that was. That went between it. But everything is nicely done. Really nicely done. Really big fan. I did take some other images as well. There you go. That was the bonding of the board at the back. The coil. I'll be honest, at this point, I think the electronics look top-notch. Genuinely, the quality of the board, the soldering. There you go. That was a bit more the inside there. The coils. This is the inverter. So what you're getting here is the inverter. The 240 in, and then you've got the inverter over here. Yeah, pretty good. I was really impressed. I'll be honest. Yeah. A good bit of kit. What's up, hey mate? How are you? After 5 years, Gamma Gonad, after 5 years in FPV quads, I finally seriously want to get a plain wing. The newest Painless 360 video with the ZMO VTOL Pro looks awesome. I haven't seen that one. I'll have to watch that. I have the VTOL kit for the Ranger T1, but I just haven't had time to do it. But I'll be honest. I'm not in a rush to do it. I bought a diesel heater last year and it's excellent. Paid for it over itself. Got the Atom RC Swordfish. But yeah, that's the... So would I have GPS... James, would I have GPS from a drone V2's Avata? Yeah, I don't believe there's any difference on that. So you still have the Find My Drone feature or the last viewed footage feature on the Avata. The Avata shows you the last bit of footage, which is very, very handy. I haven't seen that plane that you said about Painless was talking about. What was that called? Let's have a look. I haven't heard of that. Let me... what was that? What was that called? Painless. Let's just have a look. Yeah, Lee is definitely doing a lot of that. Lee's always the iNav guy. What was the name of it? Anyone? Oh, we're... Anyone? Who was the... I'm trying to find where the chat was for it. Have I seen the Nexa 3.5 by Avant Quads? No, I have. Avant Quads. Let's have a look. And let's have a look at Painless 360 as well. So Avant Quads. So this is the Avant Quads. Nexa 350. Yeah, it looks all right. Looks fine there. Top and bottom plate. Camera mounts on the studs. Yeah, it looks fairly solid as well based on the stud setup. Yeah, it looks okay. Let's have a look at Painless. Probably spelt Painless 360 wrong. Ah, there we go. So this is it here. We're going to have a video from Lee. Make sure he gets his money. So the Omp Hobby SMO VTOL Pro. So does this come as a complete kit? Let's just have a look. So there it is, look. Right. So is this a bind? Oh, is this that bind and fly thing? He had one before, which came in like a box, which was a bind and fly. Is this the version 2 of that, I'm guessing? I remember seeing it a while back. Right, so... yeah, it comes in a bind and fly. Oh, you're spending some money, mind. Ooh. 1,000 quid. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. I'm just reading down. So it comes with larger pilot, which is interesting. It is interesting. It's super, super interesting. Just think, I say it's a lot of money, mind. By the time you spec up a wing, it soon gets expensive. Nice, though. Nice. So they've got their own flight controller. So it's coming with that, either that remote system, or that remote system, which is Avatar or HDZero. Interesting. I might reach out to them. See if they're interested. Okay, Mike, I think you're having a bit of a moment. Yeah, it's a full kit. T1 VTOL conversion is more attainable. Yeah, definitely, the T1. I'd actually like to do another one. I don't want to spoil my first one. I might just buy another T1 Ranger and do that as a full VTOL. Actually, I will. And I tell you why. Because I can't tell you why. Because I have something coming I can't talk about. But yes, I need to order another T1 Ranger. T1 Ranger from 3DXR. Ben's got them. Plug and play. What's the plug and play one? So yeah, he's got the T1 Ranger and the VTOL pack there. T1 Ranger. Fixed wing kits. Let's just have a look. Ben has some amazing aircraft on this website. For those who don't know, Ben 3DXR. I'm talking some proper aircraft. How do we fancy 29 grand? Look at this. Yes. Ben has some proper toys. But, okay. So, so what we got? We got the T1, Ewing, T1 Ranger plug and play, and T1 Ranger plug and play Pro plus VTOL. What's the difference with the Pro plus the VTOL? So it'll be this one. Shame I haven't got the grey one. I'd love the grey one. I haven't got the grey one in stock. Ben! Ben! You let me down. I've actually got a reason I'd probably go with this one right now, because I've got something else coming that would suit a wing build. But I can't say any more than that a minute. Motor upgraded on the Pro. But I must have that. So on the... Get the plug and play, not the Pro. Now, 1 second. Where's I'm just trying to think where my box has gone. The next question is, what have I done with the VTOL kit? I've got a VTOL kit. Aha! It was on the bench. I actually have a VTOL kit here. So, T1 plug and play VTOL. So, in the VTOL kit, what do we actually get? I haven't looked. It was Ben who sent me this. So, we've got another tail section, servo, plastics, wiring, ESC, motor. So that's an 1806. So what do they say the upgraded numbers are? 1405. So the Pro comes with 1406 motors, not 1806. I'm guessing. So the non-Pro, just check, is it 1806 on the standards? 1404. Interesting. Is it 1404s? Yeah, so the standard motors are 1404s on the original one. And then the Pro gets 1406s. Right, and the VTOL kit gets the other bit. Right, okay, so we've got motor, ESC in the VTOL kit. So there's a motor and ESC. Plastic parts, gem fan props. Ah, more motors. Oh, wow. So you get all new motors. So what are these ones then? 1806. Interesting. So you upgrade all of the motors on the VTOL kit. Right. So you must do all of the motors on there. Right, so there's 3 motors. 1 ESC, 1 servo, 2 servos, there we go, and sundry plastic bits, which rear motor mount, so that goes on there, some pins and heat shrink. So yeah, look, I've basically got the kit. I basically have the kit to be able to do it. What I need is another one. So I'm gonna buy another one. Buy another He-Wing and do it as a VTOL. Do I have the 25 amp ESC in mind? I don't know. I don't know. What amp is this ESC that they've sent? That's the 20. Yeah, I want to get the wings finished this year. I've got the AR Wing Pro, which I struggled with last year. I had a few problems with that, but I want that flying this year. They're all up there. You guys can't see them, but so if I just get another kit, I'll be okay on that. Okay. Is the ZMO a good starter wing? FAM GFPV? No. If you want to start on a wing, right, genuinely, if you want to start on a wing, get yourself one of these. Get yourself the Ranger T1. The standard one. 159. This is a fantastic little wing plane. Genuinely a fantastic little plane. It's not a wing, it's a plane. Genuinely, it's a really, really great little aircraft. Genuinely, if you want to get into planes, just get that. Genuinely, you won't go wrong with that. It's a nice, easy start. It's cheap. Not too fast, not too slow. It'll fly okay. Yeah. It's a great little aircraft. Okay, so if you cover these black foam rubber wings with fiber tape, they're indestructible for all intents and purposes. They're not fireproof, but that's about the only limitation. Yeah. Look, I'm not a wing expert by any means. Right, couple of other things before we finish the stream up tonight. Can you build a Goggle 2 cable now? XT60 729 volts. Could be done. You'd have to find the connector on somewhere like AliExpress. It's dual motor. Lots of potential for pitfalls for beginners. Yeah, I do see what you mean. Unlike the Bixler, you know, you had the single motor on the Bixler, which made it a good starter plane. But the Bixler's a bit big. That's the only problem with the Bixler. It's just a bit big as a starter plane, isn't it? Okay, so the next thing I just want to quickly talk about is back to HDZero. So, as I said earlier on HDZero, the goggles are coming with new firmware. You don't have to update. However, we finally have, from HDZero, or Foxeer, I should say, the release of their race version of the VTX. Now, just to be clear, it is basically a version of the Race V2. It isn't anything particularly new, but it isn't identical. It isn't 100% the same. There has been some tweaks, but it is going to be available to pre-order now at $69, and it is listed on the website. It is 200 milliwatts. It's the same as the Race V2 from HDZero, secured UFL, slightly smaller design. Overall, it's had some improvements. There is some pictures of this on the Discord. Craig Johnstone posted just to show you. So that's the original Race V2 at the top. That was the version 1 Foxeer, and this is going to be basically the shipped version, which is that one there. If we go to the top, you can see it there. So it is a little bit smaller overall. Very similar, not identical. But it is available for HDZero, and it's good to see. You know, we've got another manufacturer releasing parts for the HDZero system. Now, Obviously, before we wrap this one up tonight, let me just come back onto the chart. Why aren't we not seeing 500 milliwatt VTXs for HDZero? Matt Smith says, I'll be honest, I think it's probably because it's being driven by the race community. They just don't want them. Look, let's be honest. The HDZero has a big race community compared to freestyle and everything else. And I'm not saying there aren't freestyle users, but predominantly it's been a race pushed product, and as a result of that, we're seeing all the development in that area. Frankly, it bloody annoys me because not everyone races, and I would love there to be 500 milliwatts, improved 1 watt. Let's see development on that. Let's see more. Let's see a stonker. Let's see a 1.5 or a 2, like Foxeer are doing on analog. You know, you got that 3 watt monster. Let's see some stuff. 800 milliwatts, something. I'll be honest, I believe it's because the biggest market for that product is racers, and that's why we're seeing that drive to 200 milliwatts, because they don't need any more. 25 milliwatt, that's lighter. Well, you've got the race. It's going to be really hard to get really much lower than the small one here, the micro. It's going to be very hard to get that down, but it would be great to see like a 2.5 watt one in a bulletproof case. I don't care about the weight, just give me a big one. Something for a 7-inch quad. Now we are going to have the 1080p mode very soon. I probably need to order another camera for that. I need to, because for the 1080p mode, the standard lens doesn't work. I hope RunCam make a 1080p camera with a proper lens. The only thing that's really sort of put me off this 1080p mode a bit is the fact you're going to have to change the lens on the camera. It's not going to be interchangeable. You're not going to be able to swap back and forth easily. It's a bit of a shame that. So we're going to end up in a position of having to have like the 1080p dedicated. It would have been nice to be like DJI, where you could go, well, I want low latency today, or I want high resolution today. Like Avatar, I want 1080p today, or no, I want 720p low latency. It would have been nice in HDZero to be able to do that. This camera thing sounds like it's not going to make that possible, because there's no scaling. So you're getting the larger sensor, and they work great. Do they work all right, Richard? What lens did you go with, Rich? What lens did you choose? Was it the RunCam? That's not too bad then. At least if it works on both, that's okay. What is the recommended lens at the moment? Foxeer. The RunCam one. Do we know? Some new cameras from DJI, question mark, something small for whoops. I doubt we'll see it. I'll be honest, I don't think we're going to see any further development on 03 from us. I don't know if they're going to release a smaller VTX. It's basically the same size as the Vista now. I think DJI are quite happy where they are. Why does the Sharkbite have a 1080p option? Cadex Polar. I do have a Cadex Polar. Hell, I think it's the Cadex Polar on that air unit I showed you earlier. Where is it? Here's the Polar. This one. You're telling me I've already got the lens? Are we talking this one? Doesn't say. Doesn't say if it's 1.6 mil. Try it. Okay. Interesting. That was just sitting on the bench. It's just a bit frustrating. Hopefully there's going to be, if the sensor's one way, it'll work. On a higher level, FPV Gizmo, on a higher level, could you in theory put a HD signal into 2.5 watt Foxeer to transmit the signal? It's not a pass-through, so no. Runcam Eagle 2 lens. Are we talking the RC5L lens, are we? 12 quid out of stock. Is it in stock there? That's the camera, not the lens. Are we talking this one? The RC5L, I'm guessing. So I'm going to have to order one of these from Runcam as well. I wonder if I've got one of them on something. What was that lens? I may have one of them. What was it on? The Eagle. One second, just trying to find something. Where's that gone? A few lenses here. I'm bloody sure I've got that camera, you know. Where has that gone? I'm sure. Was that? I thought it would have been in that box. Which is worrying. One second. It could be this one. Just have a look a minute. I'm intrigued now. Everyone has boxes like this, I hope. Here's another big board camera. Look at that one. We're going back in time in here, folks. Gimbal? Anyone? GoPro gimbal? What I'm annoyed at is I can't see my analog cameras. It's frustrating. How much of that box was the cat's meow when it was new? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's frightening, isn't it? I'm sure I've got the Eagle. I have. Was it orange? I'm gonna have to have a dig around. Just want to make sure it's not somewhere dull like up here. Because I have had an analog camera out in recent times. Pass box. Oh, 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 oh. Ah. No, it was the Swift. It was the Swift. I thought I had an Eagle. It was the Swift. Anyone know what lens came on the Swift? Might give that one a try as well. You never know on these old analog cams. You never know, do you? You never know. Can you try the Avatar Pro lens? Swift won't work. It's a shame. Since it's a 1/1/8 sensor, I'd have to have a look. Stream is going late tonight. Yes, we are. And that is a very good hint that it is time to wrap this one up. Right, I want to thank you all for spending some time with me tonight. As always, look, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone with the super chats tonight. That has been incredible. We had over £50 tonight, which is rather unexpected. And a £5 from... he's a nightmare. He really is. Prusa Mark IV upgrade very quickly. It's not worth the upgrade. If I was going to do it, I would buy a new printer. I would not upgrade my printer to the Mark IV. I will talk about that on next week's live stream, actually. I may even put a bit of a dedicated video out about it. I wouldn't go for an upgrade. You got to buy it as a new printer. It is too much changed. As for, do I think it's worth it? I'll be honest, I think I'd buy a P1P instead. I find it really hard to recommend the Prusa now with the P1P. I really do. I think it's going to be really hard to recommend that. It looks a lot of nice stuff there. Don't get me wrong. But it's too much work for an upgrade. You may as well just buy a second printer and sell yours off. Financially, you'd be better off. You really would. There's a lot nice. I think it's too late. I'll be honest. Why would you do that as a kit? Go and buy a P1P, open the box, and it works. It's really hard not to say buy the Bamboo. It's really hard. And I love Prusa. It's a machine, but it's really hard not to say it. Anyway, that's it from me. Stay safe. I want to thank everyone for the super chats. Massively appreciated. I will put something out on the Prusa, actually. We'll do a little bit of it in the week. Stay safe, and I will speak to you guys soon. Prusa Mini, great. Stay safe, everyone.